Nobody is talking about this enough, as this can have major implications on the long-term future of the Houston Rockets. As a new Jalen Green report has just dropped, and why the Suns could be key to GM Rafael Stone be more seen as a genius of a GM that he is. All of those details and more right here on Rockets Digest. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Donovan Ricondo, and we appreciate you joining us as always. We're currently at 4,974 subscribers, and we are trying to get to 5,000 by the end of the month. That is our goal here, and help us reach our goal. If you are a true Rockets fan, a diehard who is looking to stay updated during this kind of lull period in the NBA season, this is the channel to do so. So go ahead, hit that button below if you want to stay up to date. But as far as our story for today, we're talking about the Phoenix Suns a little bit. I know it can be very tiresome to be talking about the Suns yet again, but the Suns and the Rockets are going to be a connected franchises for the next 4 years, and we're going to tell you why. It's got more to do than the Jalen Green trade and KD trade. Of course, that's going to be talked about for a very long time, but in terms of draft capital, there is a huge update in terms of that, as the Phoenix Suns have made a somewhat, could possibly say, comical error that could help benefit the Houston Rockets. And that is this new report that comes from Gambo987, an NBA insider, who says that the Phoenix Suns are likely planning to make Jalen Green their primary ball handler. Now, why is that news? Well, if you've watched the Rockets over the past 4 seasons, you would know that Jalen Green isn't necessarily a ball handler in terms of that aspect, in terms of being the facilitator on their court, being their point guard, their number one out there, and of the 5 players on the court. He has shown flashes that he can do it, but at the same time, he's not a very, that's not his skill set. That's not what he's best at. Now, in turn, right, what does that mean in terms of his stats? How is all of that looking in terms of how good, how great he is? And James Piercy from Space City Scoop says this. He says, quote, Green generated 0.92 points per possession as a pick-and-roll ball handler last year. That put him in the NBA's 67.4th percentile. That's not bad, but it's not great. It's more indicative of a secondary ball handler. Green's stats in isolation were far worse. In those sets, he generated 0.86 points per possession. That's 42nd percentile in the NBA. So again, it's not bad, right? He's not a bad ball handler, but he's not that point guard. He doesn't have the stats to back that up and to be put in that position. Now, of course, the opposite side of this is, okay, Phoenix wants him to develop that. That's how they view him as a player. They want him to get that done. But nevertheless, that's not really Jalen Green's game. And to me, that's going to be a process that's going to take a while for it to develop. When you think about things that take a while, eventually the years go by and we're at 2027, and the Phoenix Suns could be at a spot where they are in a bit of a lull as a franchise, if they are not already in that lull, not being able to be in the draft lottery before the KD trade and not being in the NBA playoffs this past year, the only team in the NBA. And so when we talk about teams that are kind of struggling and trying to figure themselves out, the Suns are one of those teams. And if they keep making decisions like this in terms of like getting Jalen Green to play a position that he's not exactly known for, right? He can do it if you really need him to, but it's not his bread and butter, right? And you're probably wondering, why aren't they just putting Devin Booker in that spot? He's a much better player than Jalen Green, and who can do that much more better. And James Piercy would agree with you. He would say that out loud. He said, quote, Booker, despite having a down year, bested him in both areas. He generated 0.94 points per possession in the pick and roll. That's in the 70th percentile. And 1.07 points per possession in isolation. That's in the 87th percentile. Breaking news. Devin Booker is better than Jalen Green. He's absolutely correct. And so it's an interesting scheme for the Phoenix Suns, right, to go with this. And so in my opinion, making these kinds of decisions, I get they don't have a roster that they're fully believe in, but I do believe that this team is going to be headed to some sort of rebuild within the next few years. I feel like the Suns, besides that 2021 season when they had Booker and Chris Paul, they have been struggling. They've always been a franchise that has struggled to get to the playoffs, a franchise that has struggled to win big games. Besides that 2021 year, they we're not really doing that, and I feel like this is the direction that franchise is going. It's now bringing it back full circle to the Rockets. That's going to affect their draft capital because, as you probably have been told, the Rockets own first rounders from Phoenix in 2027 and 2029. So whatever Phoenix does impacts them. It affects the Rockets directly. It's going to have a say in what kind of players we are going to get in the future. We're probably going to draft higher if Phoenix continues to keep making decisions that aren't necessarily bad, but not necessarily good or great decisions for their franchise. And so that is a great thing to have because not only can you draft players, but it also gives you even more capital in terms of trade assets, right? We saw how important that Phoenix pick, the 10th overall pick that we had from them, that was huge in getting KD, right? We can see how these picks have huge effects on what our Rockets team looks like. And so down the road, when you see the Phoenix Suns struggling and they're trying to figure themselves out, in the back of your head, you should be saying, oh, this is secretly, hiddenly a win for the Rockets, thinking long term, right? And so I think all of this is just a huge testament to a great job Rafael Stone has done in terms of putting this team together, right? Rafael Stone has done a great job in getting that draft capital from other teams to have that kind of leverage over Phoenix. I mean, it was proven in terms of getting the picks that they knew that if they wanted to do a KD deal in the future, they were going to have to get. They went out to Brooklyn, they got him, they ended up hanging that over Phoenix's head and said, hey, if you want these, you're going to want to get KD over here in Houston. And that's exactly what they did. And now when you invest sort of in a team that you pretty much know is going to struggle at some point within the next 4 years, you put yourself in a better position to build your future. And so I commend the job Rafael Stone has done when it comes to acquiring these picks and having this kind of leverage over other teams. But it also should just have Rockets fans fired up in terms of having a GM that is one of the best in the NBA. He's going to make moves that at times, right, with the Cam Whitmore, you kind of don't agree with. You kind of wish we had Cam Whitmore, but he's going to make up for it with moves like getting KD, signing Clint Capella, re-signing Steven Adams, who I think was the most important player in the playoffs last year, as well as getting Dorian Finney-Smith and getting Fred VanVleet to a contract that helped this team in the long run. Rafael Stone, he's thinking long run every single day of his life right now. He really is. He's, how can I benefit this team in the long run? Of course, the KD situation, that's how we can win now, right? That's the win now scenario. But signing Jabari Smith to that contract that was worth $122 million, that keeps him here in Houston until 2031, is a great bang for your buck. So hopefully everything pans out with him. But everything is pretty much going to plan for Rafael Stone and his insights in terms of what this team is going to look like within the next few years. He's got his core, right? He's got the Amin Thompsons. He's got the Alperen Şengün. He's got Jabari Smith. And so when you accumulate these picks, right, KD's going to be gone in 2-4 years or 2 to 3 years. You have that, that 2027 first round pick who can, to match up to what KD does is a huge ask. But to get a valuable player early on while still being a competitive and very good team going into the playoffs, having real chances of winning the championship every single year is an absolute masterclass, and GM Rafael Stone deserves absolute credit. And so that pretty much wraps up this episode of Rockets Digest. Let me know in the comments what you think about this decision from Phoenix and how the Rockets are going to benefit long term. And as always, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button below. We appreciate you joining us, and if you've made it to the end of the video, that tells me you are a die-hard Rockets fan. Go ahead and let us know how much you like the channel. All right, we'll see you next time. I'm Donovan Ricondo. So long.